So a lot of people are making reverse canvases, and I thought it'd be really fun to take you along while I make one for my niece. So what we have here is just a standard old canvas that you can paint. You will need any kind of vinyl, or for this video we're using a print and cut heat transfer vinyl, and I got this from expressvinyl.com. That's where I got mine from. They're pretty great price, not too expensive, and it will come with instructions like this that will tell you exactly what you need to do. I like to keep this handy when I'm working with this. You're gonna need parchment paper, obviously your print and cut paper. This is mine. You're gonna need a transfer mask. I got this from 651 Vinyl. You're gonna need a canvas, something to remove the nails in the back. I like to use an oyster shucker. I know it's weird, but we love to use the oyster shucker for this. It works wonderfully to take the nails out. You'll also need scissors and measuring tape to make sure you get the right size. Design space. So here's mine. These are all the projects I have worked on or am working on currently. We are gonna go with this one, but I'm gonna show you how I upload the image first before we do this one. So we're gonna go new project up here in the left corner. We're gonna open this and go upload. So make sure you know how your printer works. If your printer is the type like mine, which like I said, I'll show you in a minute, I have to put my print and vinyl down like this, and then it feeds it through like this, flips it, and then print.
It is a HP OfficeJet 4650 print, fax, scan, copy, and web.
All right, and the last thing we're going to be using is this. Now, in order to do a print and cut, you need heavy pressure. With regular vinyl, you don't. Now, this instructions comes with using a regular iron. I tried that and burned the project, so I do not recommend using a regular iron. I recommend using a heat press, which is this instructions down here. That is the only way I will go, and I will also link where I got this one on the blog, www.organicmominthekitchen.com, and I will also put the image that we are going to be working on today on there as well. So first thing we want to do is we want to open a new browser, and we want to go Google, and then we're going to look up Frozen Elsa wreath, and we're going to look for images. Sometimes you have to type in clip art. So you can use this image here, which is the image we have in that other one, and we just put a wreath around it. You can literally pick whatever image you want. You can see there's tons of images you can use. And we're going to pick her going the other way, to the left. What we're going to do is double click on it and hit save images. And I'm going to make sure I save that to my desktop. And I'll put Elsa. Okay. We're going to hit browse over here. We're going to click on Elsa and insert Elsa. Now, if you hit simple, it's going to change everything, as you can see, to like a gradient color. I don't like that. That looks crummy. If you hit moderate complex, it kind of makes it a little darker. If you hit complex, it leaves the image the way you found it. Oh my God, you stink. So we're going to go ahead and click complex always and hit continue. And now what we want to do is erase the background. So we grabbed our magic tool over here, and I just clicked, and that erased all the background. It even erased some of her hair. So let's undo, and let's go. We'll make like a mark. There we go. So some of her hair got erased, but that'll just be replaced in her hand by the white in our canvas instead of the white background that was on here. So we're gonna hit preview. Now, if you did this in vinyl instead of a print and cut, this is what you would see. Just a standard old cut. It would cut her out just like this. Not very nice. But for this purposes, we're also going to go ahead and get rid of the ice here because we don't want it. Boom. All gone. Okay. And all of the ice is gone. All right. So it looks pretty good. We got rid of all the ice. We can get rid of a little speck up here. Good. So that looks nice. So we're going to go ahead and hit continue. Like I said, if you save it as a cut file, which this will cut out just in vinyl, just like this, no detail. I mean, this doesn't even look like a hand. It looks like an arrow. So I'm not going to save it like this. We're going to save it as a print, then cut image. And we'll name it Elsa and hit save. We have our Elsa and our wreath. And you can take the wreath if you want, and you can, we gotta go down a little. And you can flip it if you don't like it this way. You can go up here to flip and flip horizontal if you want them that way. I like it the other way though. And no, you just play around with it until it looks the way you want it to look. This is the one I did earlier. I just took all the characters because my niece is obsessed with Frozen right now. And I think this will look cute in her room. So I just took all the characters, cleared out the white behind them, uploaded it, used a Frozen text. It's called Frozen Nutra. I got off of defont.com and just made her name like that. Now we can color her name. If we want to do it blue or if we want to do it purple, I'll probably stick with a light purple. And then we need to go ahead and take our font. After we make our font, you're going to have to come down to here and you're going to have to hit flatten. If you want it to be a print and cut. If you want to use just vinyl on that part, you can. You don't have to flatten it. But I want it to print it out with the image. So now I need to group my images and see how big I have them. So this is a 7.981 and a 7.893. So now we're at our canvas. And here's what I like to do before I print my images. I like to measure my canvas. Now, keep in mind, you're not measuring it from end to end. Because with a reverse canvas, we're taking off the backing here. We're cutting down the canvas piece, and we're only using the middle, basically. So I'm only going to measure from this piece of wood to this piece of wood. And that gives me, I want to say a 7.5 by, I can do 7.5. And we're going to go ahead and unlock this. And we're going to go 7 by 7 and see if that looks good as a square. So obviously the images look a little, oh yeah, they look good like that. See? 7 by 7. Then lock it. That gives us plenty of room to play with Sven's horns and with her name. Also with the dress flowing outward. So 7 by 7, I think it's perfect. So now our image is done. I'm going to make sure I save it. So if Cricut kicks us out, which it does on a regular basis, we have our image ready to go. We don't have to redo it. And we're going to hit make. And it's going to pull up something like this. Now typically when you make this, it's going to pull it up and it's going to be at 12 by 12 for your mat on vinyl. And what this is doing right now is it's going to send it to the printer over there, right there. And it's going to print it. So what I typically like to do is do a test print to make sure everything looks good on paper. So I'm going to send it over, let it print out on my piece of paper before I stick this in, my heat transfer vinyl, printable vinyl. So I'm going to send it over to my printer. So now it's sent over to the printer and the printer is going to kick on. But I'm going to let that print off, and then I'm going to grab it and I'll show you what it looks like, and we'll make sure that it looks good before we go and print it on our paper. Okay, so here we have our image. This is what it will print like. Veronica, and then it has all three of them, or all, what, 5 of the characters. So it kind of pixelated around the images. Like up here, you can see it pixelated on her head. On Anna, Elsa, and Sven's, it pixelated it. That's okay, because when we load this into the machine, it's gonna know to cut that out, cut around it. So all of that will cut out and you won't see it in your final image. So if I look down at her name, I'm not happy with how the I is squinched next to the C like that in the end. So I'm gonna cancel the cut. I'm gonna ungroup. I'm gonna click her name. Unflatten, and then we're gonna play around with the space. So it's at a 0.9 on letter spacing right now. So I'm gonna make it more like a 1.5, and I feel like that will help with all the lettering. Maybe a little bit more, 1.6. So now we spaced it out. I spaced it to a 1.7. I feel like that would be okay. So we need to come back down to the bottom over here and flatten it, select both, and group. Now if you look, it made it 7.7 on the bottom. We want it to be a straight 7, so we're just going to unlock and hit 7 and lock. I think we're going to go 7 by a 6.5. I think I like that more. So 7 by 6.5. I like that a little bit better. Okay. Now it doesn't matter where you put your image on your page while you're working on it. It's gonna put it right over to the corner anyways. So I'm gonna hit make. We're gonna go ahead and hit send to printer.
And you have to put it in like this, because once it goes in, it's gonna flip over and print on this side, and that's what you want. So just open, and you have to put it in like this. And you have to let this dry for 5 minutes and not touch it at all.
Once we have that printed, it's going to want us to connect our machine. So here's my machine. Come on out, Minty. I'm going to turn her on. Turn her on, baby. And I like to make it, my dial, always set to custom, because I feel like it reminds me, hey, make sure you check your dial. Is that really what you want it on? Select our device. Now, I already have mine dark printable iron on dark and printable iron on light. Now this vinyl that I buy is both printable dark and both printable light. So it is 2-in-1. Which is why I like to buy it. So if you don't have that saved, you hit browse and you can type in printable, and then it'll give you printable vinyl. So that's non-iron-on, printable iron-on light, printable iron-on dark, printable fabric, and printable sticker paper. So you just hit the stars over here and then hit exit. And then it loads it into your favorites. So I'm using light because we're going to be putting it on to a light canvas. So I'm not ready to have this cut out just yet, because I just pulled it off my printer, and per the instructions, it needs to dry for 5 minutes. So I like to at least put it on here. And I don't really line it up to the side of the corner of the mat, because it's going to indicate it. So I don't put it straight to the sides or straight to the top, because the Cricut's job is to find these black lines. Now it's very important that you put your image down the way that it printed on your screen. So if you hover back over the image, it'll show you. And you want to make sure you mimic that exactly. Otherwise, you put it upside down or sideways, it's going to cut it out completely wrong. It's ready to cut in 4 more minutes because it's still drying the ink. So So what I'm going to do is set it aside into my machine. So we're just going to load her in really well. And then we hit our blinking arrow. Now it's loaded, ready to go. All right, so now it's time to work on our canvas, getting these staples out. Now this can be a very, very, very tricky thing. I tried a paring knife. I've tried a flathead screwdriver. I've tried everything. My husband bought me this shucker when we had some oysters with pearls in them, and we shucked them open at home, you know, to see how it felt and play around with it. So he decided to try this one day on these. So you just want to wiggle, wiggle, wiggle until it gets up under the nail, and then pop it out. Okay, so again, we're gonna go up under. Now if you rip this fabric here, it does not matter because we're gonna be cutting it down. It does not matter. So you can go up and under and just wiggle till it comes up, and then just go into it. Now if they get stuck like that, I have these titanium scissors. I will link those on Amazon. I just grab around them and pull, and then release, and just pop them up. Okay, just pop them up, and they do get stuck quite a bit, but I'm gonna, like I said, I just use my titanium scissors, grab them. All right, so I finally got my canvas off. All the nails are out. So we're just gonna take it off. Like I said, it does not matter if it rips. The corners will rip. Okay. And one of the nails broken there. But that's okay. Boom. Now we have our frame and our canvas. So what I like to do with this is I like to not cut it yet. A lot of times people will go ahead and just cut down all the way around. I found that doing that, you could accidentally cut too much, and then you don't have a big enough canvas any further, and you have to start over, or your project is ruined and you have to use a smaller one. I'm gonna work with a purple here. I'm gonna brush on the purple, and then when it dries, I'm gonna splotch polka dots with my splotcher in white. So for now, we're gonna work with our purple, and this is just Studio 71 acrylic colors. I don't know if you can see that. Studio 71 acrylic colors. I got this at Pat Catan's for $2. So I like to just take a little bit right in the middle. Very, very little. You do not need much. Now the key is you have to cover the sides and the insides. So I like to start with the insides. And I just brush it on. Now I do this with stain a lot, and this is one of my stained ones. This is a golden oak stain. It's absolutely beautiful. Alright, so this is ready to go. The C is blinking, so we're going to hit it. And you're going to see it's going to register those lines. Like I told you, it didn't matter where you put it on the mat. Watch. Right now it's detecting where it is. Okay, now it knows where that line. That's why it's very important this is facing the correct way. It has some stuff that it needs to detect. Okay, and then it's going to start cutting. And yes, it will look like it's cutting out the entire like on the image. It's only cutting those pixelated lines that I showed you. Now it's cutting Sven's ear. See, the baby needs to go out there. So it's cutting Sven. Now it's cutting Kristoff. And it's going back around to cut on Elsa. And now Anna. And now the dress. And it is almost done. Okay, so they're cut out all the way. Now it's gonna cut the little white lines out in between his legs, in between Sven and Kristoff. Okay, on the edges, and now it's going to the A. Okay, so I'll meet you back when this is done cutting. Hit the blinky blinky. And out comes our mat. So now I have my mask tape, and I know I need this much. Oh, and I forgot to mention, when you make a print and cut, you do not mirror the image. Do not mirror the image. You want it the face right. Put that in your eye. You want it the way you see it, like this. It's not mirrored, because essentially what you're going to do is you're going to weed everything out of it, and then you're going to put it on this masking tape, it's called, and that is what you use to iron down your project. So you do not want to mirror. Now we're going to take up our image here, and you have to be very careful with this because it gets very frail and it pulls up here and there, and it's a pain in the butt to weed, but it is what it is.
It works.
Like Sven's ear, I knew that would be a pain in the butt. Okay, so this is my heat press. It's coming up to temperature. All I did was pull out my tray a little bit and turn it away from me. Now, obviously, it's not going to go very far because, well, I don't have a big enough desk. So I'm going to stick this sucker under here. Now, it's going to be a little bit bigger than the mat itself, which is fine.
And try to make sure you don't burn your finger on that because that is very hot.
And I'm just going to press it for a sec. Literally a second. And then scooch it up. Give it 1 second. And then turn it away. Okay, so now that made that more flat, as you can see. It didn't flatten this side because it wasn't in there, but that's fine. So we're ready to put our image on, and we can kind of go off of the lines here. So this first line was around the border of our thing. This second line was where it tucked it under. So I know I need to make sure I stay within there. So we're just going to take our canvas, put it on our mat here, grab our parchment paper to cover this. It's very important it's covered. Push it back, twist, and then we want to count it down for 12 seconds. Okay, and it's almost done. So when it's done and it's beeping, we hit the down button, we lift,
and push to the side.
We rotate out of the way as far as we can go. Remove our parchment, and then we take a marble slab and we're going to cool it. Now it has to cool for 1 minute, so what I like to do is use the marble slab and then allow it to cool for 1 minute still. With my little creaky guy. Okay, so now we go ahead and peel it up, and you can see everything is coming up nice and smooth. Some little, like, you'll have a little images here and there that don't come up. I mean, that's just...
That's okay. You can't really tell.
Okay.
As you can see, you can't tell.
But so since we have that in there, we really can't reuse this, so we'll just throw it away. All right, so now we can take our scissors and cut down our frame. Now I told you this will be the front, this line, but I like to cut on the second line. to give myself a little extra room, just in case I fudge up and it doesn't go correct. So I just really just cut off the nail section, give myself nice room, and I can cut this down later once I staple it to the back of the canvas. Okay, so now we're going to do our polka dots. And I just have this dot brush. I'll put a little on there and we're going to dab it. Put a little one there. I'm going to put a little one up here. Okay, so here's our finished piece. Now I have it lined up the way I want it. So we're going to take it and flip it. Okay, and I have a Stanley nail gun. We're gently going to feel where our wood is, and then we're going to staple. Don't mind my dog, she gets real cranky at this. Real cranky. Honey, can you? Now we're going to trim the extra off. You're just going to take your scissors. Doesn't have to look nice. Nobody's going to see the back when it's hung on a wall. You take some water. No, it will not mess up the image or the paint or the stain. It'll be fine. Can we just soak it? Rub our fingers. Want it nice and wet. And then if we stand it up, you can see how much tighter it is. As it dries, it'll get tighter and tighter.
Until it's as stiff as a drum.
Until it's nice and stiff, like a drum. And there it is.